Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Municipal Skating Rink Building Committee meeting, 12 April 2024. We're in conference room 1 on the hybrid meeting and meeting number, I believe, 75. Yes. Okay, so we're going to do some business things first, and then we're going to go in and continue on with the VE discussion that we started last week. Try to knock out some of the things. Anyway, so let's go right to the business issues. What I'd like to do, if I'm okay with it, Tom, is go through the simple bills to be paid, and then we'll do a vote on those. A lot of them are just advertising and web hosting, and then we'll do any of the vendors we'll do separately. Okay?
Can we do a roll call to know who's on the meeting? We could, please.
In the room, we have Steve, Bill Shea, myself, and then we have Tom Gazunas, Don White, Mike Morrison, and Jake from CHA.
And
online,
we have from members of the committee, Meg Moriarty, Frank French, Anthony Ferrante, Dan Holston, Anne-Marie Mahoney, Dante Mazzioli.
Thank you.
Tom Caputo just also entered.
how many's that out of the 12? Sorry. We have 3 here.
Sorry. Thank you.
10 of the 12, yeah. Catherine Oates is on a plane, so she will not be here, and it sounds like Danelle is not here yet. Is that
Correct. That's correct.
coming? All right. All right, so let's go to our invoices. First, on-site electric, which is for the electric for the trailer, which we cover. It's $573.
That's for Belmont Light.
Belmont Light. Project Dog, we have 2 invoices for March, which is $595 for request for proposals for testing. And then Project Dog, $450 an RFP for commissioning. So each time we go out for advertising for different things, Project Dog charges us for web hosting that. Okay, we have advertising at the local paper for both of the same things, $102.82 for testing RFP, and advertising for commissioning is $116.40. So with that, I will make a motion to approve those invoices.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
That takes a roll call.
Yes. Okay.
Correct. So Tom Caputo,
Yes.
Anthony.
Yes.
Frank French,
Yes.
Mark Haley, yes. Dan Halston,
Yes.
Danelle, is she on yet?
No.
Okay. Anne-Marie Mahoney,
Yes.
Meg Moriarty,
Yes.
Dante Mazzioli.
Yes.
No, it's not. It's Steve Sella,
Yes.
Steve Shea, William Shea.
Yes.
Okay, that takes care of those. And then we have 2 vendors. One, we have an invoice from T-Gas. And Don, can you help me out on this? That's not his normal billing.
It was for, I think it listed, it's billing against his amendment number 2. So it's just a small amount.
Yeah, $7,760.84.
Yep.
That's billing against his amendment 2, which is civil.
I think so.
I think it is. Okay. And then we have one for CHA's invoice through March for $30,000, which is their normal billing per month. So with that, I'll take a motion to approve those 2 invoices.
Motion to approve the 2 invoices.
Bill Shea,
Second.
second. Dante, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
discussion? No. Hearing none? Again, William Shea,
Yes.
Tom Caputo,
Yes.
Anthony Ferrante,
Yes.
Frank French,
Yes.
Mark Haley, yes. Dan Halston,
Yes.
Anne Marie Mahoney,
Yes.
Meg Moriarty,
Yes.
Dante Mozzioli,
Yes.
Stephen Sala.
Yes.
Done. Thank you. Those are the invoices we have in front of us today. Okay. Next order of business.
Sunday.
This is,
So we have
go ahead.
Skanska's pre-GMP amendment number 3, which we had to make some modifications to yesterday. There was a bust in the math. This had been discussed previously. It was for $100,000, which is effectively half of what the original pre-GMP amendment number 3 amount was, to fund for additional services for, was it pre-con?
Yes, yep.
So conceptually, it was agreed that this would be resubmitted at half the original amount of $202,000. This is for $100,000, and we need to take a vote on that.
And CHA recommends paying this?
Yes,
Thank you.
and it's not a payment.
It's an approved
adjustment to the
adjustment.
contract. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, so essentially, what we're talking about here is Skanska has a pre-construction cost in their number. And they've spent that because now we have delays, so they need to refund that bucket. Ultimately, it all gets rolled into the GMP. It was in their previous estimate of February 2016.
Yep.
February 16th of 2024. So with that, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Can we have a discussion on this?
Yes, yep, that's exactly what I was gonna do, Dante.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So I have a
think-
motion, do I have a motion to approve? Then I just, Dante,
William Shea, motion to approve.
can we have a second? Then we'll have a discussion.
Second.
Second, Steve Sala. Open for a discussion. Dante,
I think we want to make it clear to everybody, this pre-con amount is an additional amount to what they originally requested when they made their proposal for this. Is that accurate?
Yes.
yes, because it's an extension of time.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody that that's what the case is.
And Dante, Don White here, this was originally submitted at, I think it was $202,000. And it was agreed that further study needed to be put into it before approving the full requested amount, but as an interim amount to fund these changes, it was agreed to that we would present a figure of $100,000. So
Okay, and-
the whole thing has not been approved yet as originally submitted. That's up for further discussion.
Okay, so we're gonna continue that discussion at a later date. But understand this is 100 on a potential that they're requesting 200, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. Again, Tom Caputo,
Yes.
Anthony Ferrante,
Yes.
Frank French,
Yes.
Mark Haley, yes. Dan Halston,
Yes.
Al Long,
Yes.
Anne Marie Mahoney,
Yes.
Meg Moriarty,
Yes.
Dante Mozzioli,
Yeah,
Stephen Sala,
Yes.
William Shea.
Yes.
Okay, passed unanimously. Next, we're gonna go through the change orders.
Correct.
Correct. I'm gonna turn it over to Mike.
Yeah, so what we have in front of you is the first change order. It's March. I don't know if we're sharing or how we want to
Can you-
do this.
Give that, didn't I?
Yes.
Put that back.
Sorry, I can speak it, but
Can you bring it up on the screen?
do you want me to? No.
You didn't give me the change order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's- Hold it up.
John, you have to join. Then I'll let co-host.
Want me to speak, so I can start talking through while you.
Yeah.
So most of these things on the change order are things we've talked about in previous meetings. Now we're kind of summarizing actual pricing that's been submitted and reviewed. So the first change order for March includes a cost associated with the calcium chloride. So this is the mixture that was in the newer old Rink slab. So there was
In the piping.
within the piping of within the stone dust layer that was on the old rink, for those familiar with that. So we had an allowance based on 1,000 square feet, 1,000 gallons anticipated in our RTA for demolition. We knew it was there. We were asking, we thought the volume was 1,000 gallons. The volume ended up being more than that, and we had discussed this in pretty good detail before we started the work, our plan, our process, and the pricing. The end result of that was to kind of proceed on like a time and material basis, validate the pricing that we submitted. So that's what was done. And the pricing, what we're presenting for approval today is right in line, is very close to what we discussed. It's 34,000, which is, you know, the cost that we tracked for this work.
It's almost 6,000 gallons.
Correct. Yep. So that's part of the reason for the overage, ultimately the volume and, you know, for what it's worth, there was low points at the end of each piping run from the header trench that was on one side. So they had to go and we actually had to flush out each individual line, instead of going from the header trench, which is where we're hoping to do kind of one spot versus each.
So the header was high, not low.
So long story short, we knew that beforehand. That's why we had the meetings and discussed, and this is the pricing that was reflective of that work.
But there's no way we could have known that pre-bid. No.
And you took it off-site and treated.
Yeah, we put it in the tank and then it was,
Treated.
Yeah.
And removed.
Yeah, we looked at various options to get rid of the calcium chloride,
No,
including putting it on streets to melt snow.
Right, exactly.
It just never,
Yeah, never
no
flew.
one wanted it.
No. So,
Okay.
It's a big story.
yep. The other item, it's included in the change order as $0. Another item we've talked about at great length was the site support for the demolition. So previously the committee voted an allowance for that work. So essentially cost to create the wheel wash, create the access road. Because we didn't have the site contractor awarded yet, we pulled the money together, approved an allowance for that work. The work has since been done. We know that the actual cost for it, and it's less than the allowance. So this is a $0 because we've already kind of agreed on the scope and the funds were committed, but the actual dollar value was not. So right now there's a balance of $9,000 for what we originally committed, but the work is done. So this is a $0. So you'll see that as just a memorialization of what we've done, and all the backup is included in that as well. The third change.
And in theory, the site work package should be less by that amount of money.
Correct. So when we presented this, we said, okay, we had estimated this amount of money in our site work package. So it's really just kind of committing it earlier.
Got it. Thank you.
Let me see if I could get it up on the screen, but I don't have your markups done. Emailed it last time. Let's go to your email. That's- PCCO.
Technical difficulties in the room with pulling up the document to share with everyone.
one person.
Got it?
There you go.
Or kind of. You gotta pull.
Yeah, we can see only the top of that.
Yeah. I want to scroll down. All right, so I just described items 1 and 4 on the PCCO. Item 6 is where I'm going to go next, just to get the other ones off. So this is what we've talked about for the additional abatement that's unforeseen. So we've discussed in previous meetings that the rink slab itself, the actual ice surface and the concrete underneath it was the underside of that had a black mastic between that and the green insulation board. So that was identified, was tested, it was determined to be hot, so we had to do a non-traditional work plan to remove that material. So that material was all, stockpiled separately. It was witnessed by a third-party hygienist. It was hauled off to disposal facility and ticketed and documented. So essentially, the justification of this change order is a pre-agreed upon unit rate that was included in the contract documents for the premium related to disposing ACM concrete, meaning asbestos-containing material, concrete that has to be removed as asbestos-containing material. So that's all a tonnage. This PCO is essentially the verified weights of the concrete disposed of as ACM multiplied by the previously agreed upon unit rate for disposal of concrete as ACM above and beyond the quantity that we were told to carry. So as part of our contract, we were told to carry 500 tons. We have ultimately had 1,506, I think, tons. So this change is 1,006 tons of concrete that was removed as ACM as part of this project. So that's just, this only thing in this PCO is that math. It's just tonnage verified.
It's only trucking and disposal. It's not the demolition, which was in the base.
Correct. It's the premium.
I'm just explaining it so everybody understands.
And that was a rate pre-established by.
Price are correct.
Yep.
Unit price was in the contract for JDC, and that's what we're paying.
Plus the hygienist?
Hygienist is a different
It's
contract.
not, yeah.
Okay, separate.
That's a separate contract, separate to us direct.
Okay.
Okay. But with that, and what you'll do is you'll invoice for this next month.
Yep.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. So those three items, Brett,
So I think I'll just speak to item 3 and then maybe there can be some discussion on it, what that is. So we've also talked about this. Item 3, that you see kind of crossed out on the screen. So this was the disposal of the soil that was kind of stockpiled on top of the slab. So when the oil was witnessed, we had to deal with that condition. In order to get the tank out, we had to take some of the soil that had the mixed with the oil, stockpile it on the slab because it was the only dry place we could put that and contain it. And we had to dispose of that. So that cost represents the actual, same thing, the actual tonnage that disposal facilities received of that material, multiplied by a unit rate that was reviewed by the LSP and thought to be fair and reasonable. So that's just disposal costs for that material. And I don't know if others want to talk to why it's struck out.
Bill Shea?
Bill Shea, question, was the oil in the soil before Skanska got on site?
I would say that's why this is deferred for further discussion, that we can bring everything together
Okay.
in one
All
discussion.
right, that's fine.
Bill, which is
That's
the
fine.
entire oil spill and related costs.
So there's another change order that we're going to discuss,
Yep.
which is the oil issue.
Okay,
So maybe we roll this into that.
sure, that makes sense. Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
the change orders we're doing today on that sheet there, Don, is that 266? That includes, you took out the 18?
Correct.
So that takes out the 18, that leaves in 34,451 for PCO number 4, which is the calcium chloride removal. And it leaves in the 232,100 for PCO number 6. Am I right? Yeah, number 6.
And the site support number 1, which
And the
is
site
zero.
support number 1, and that all totals up to the 266,551, which is the amount we're
So
asking.
Bill Shea, would you make a motion?
Motion to approve this change to Skanska.
1, 3, and 4.
1, 4, and 6.
Got it.
We're gonna table the discussion on the oil to a further time where we can have a little more in-depth talk about this. Is that
Yep,
correct?
that is removed from this change order at this time.
Okay, I have a hard time, this whole meeting thing, I can't get on right, I can't see any of the information, and I don't, it's posted differently than we usually post it, so just want to make a note on that, because it's a little frustrating to listen to the meeting, not being able to see all the material that you guys are posting, so I apologize.
Can you not see a screen?
No, I can't see anything. We post this on Outlook and I can't get on it and, you know,
Dante, are you on the Zoom
Are
app?
you on Zoom?
It's on Zoom.
I'm on Zoom, but when I tape those numbers that are on the call, it says that those aren't the correct numbers. I've done it like 20 times as you're talking to me. So I have my phone set up on one and I have my computer on the other. I can't get on the computer, so I'm just on a phone call that shows my pretty face on it the whole time, unfortunately. So I can't get in.
All the things to work.
You have your daughter go with you wherever you go and she can run the computer.
Exactly. That's a good lesson. Absolutely.
All right. Tom Caputo has his hand raised.
Tom,
So Mark, the 232 for the disposal of the asbestos containing material, that is above and beyond what we had anticipated we would be disposing of for hazard waste, because it's not typical to find that mastic under the rink slab, right? I mean, just in terms of like putting some context around why we're seeing that,
Sure.
that was unanticipated.
that's correct. We dug four test pits were dug by Skanska to look at what was the underside of the concrete. We did not dig under the rink slab. We dug immediately beside it, and the material beneath the rink slab, on the, I'll call it the apron slab, was just a vapor barrier and no waterproofing. When we started to take out the rink slab, however, they had insulation and they had a mastic waterproofing, which we couldn't dig under that slab itself or dig through it until we took the calcium chloride out of piping. That's why it was unforeseen. The intent always was to try to investigate that before we get into it, Tom. But because of the piping, we couldn't get through it because the pipes were too close together. All right?
Right.
And
Thank you for clarifying that. 'Cause I just think people should understand the context.
Further to that, you know, this is all being reconciled against the allowance, which was outside of Skanska's contract of hazmat abatement for $400,000. So we're in the process of reconciling all of those numbers right now.
Understood. Thanks.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Steve? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we got to vote.
Roll call.
Tom Caputo,
Yes.
Anthony Frente,
Yes.
Frank French,
Yes.
Mark Haley, yes. Dan Halston,
Yes.
Danell Long,
Yes.
yes. Anne Marie Mahoney,
I mean, yes, but could I just make a request
go
that
ahead.
the invoices and this kind of information, can we possibly get that ahead of time? So that we've got a little bit of opportunity to study it. You know, we're hit with it and it's kind of early in the morning and then we've got to vote. I'd rather be able to look at this just for a few minutes before the meeting. But yes,
We will do that depending on,
Thank-
we'll try to
thank
get it
you.
out at the same time we get out the agenda. Anne Marie
that'd be
now.
great. That would be great. Thank you.
Good point. Dante,
Yes.
Steve Sala,
Yes.
William Shea.
Yes.
Okay, and those will be billed next month. Okay.
Meg Moriarty, yes.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Meg. All right. Want to just quickly go through the oil?
Sure. So we also.
And now we're going to roll the 18 into that change order also.
Understood. So in preparation for this meeting, we did a separate PCCO strictly related to the.
Don, do you have that?
That was sent earlier in the week. But I can kind of talk through it as you
Go ahead.
look it up. So we've shared through CHA our cost exposure log, which had this scope on it. So this is the emergency response to the oil spill, the subcontractors, material and labor, as well as the vendors that, you know, the specific vendors that come out and deal with this type of issue. So they put the silt sock in the pond and they did the cleanup with the back truck, and that's a specialty subcontractor that was engaged for that work. So that was previously submitted and reviewed at it was $79,000 as an out of scope change. That is not what's presented today. Once Don pulls it up, what's presented today is a $0 change. It's using funds within the current agreement that the town has executed with Skanska to pay for some. It's holding the subcontractor responsible for some, and it's using available funds that we have to pay for others. So Skanska's absorbing some, the subcontractor is absorbing some, and then we're using some available funds within our current agreement to pay for the balance. So the bottom line is, you know, we understand, and I think the movement from where we were to where we are now is a result of what we actually witnessed under the slab and what we're understanding the test results to be from that condition. So I think initially there was a lot of concern and unknown conditions of what was actually under that slab. If this was a pre-existing latent condition, that when we got to the point where we got to the boiler room, we're going to find something that would be more in line with a condition that had been there for a long time. So when we learned that that was not the case, we revisited that. However, there's still some issues which we're going to table for a future discussion that make us feel like that some of the cost is justified. So what we feel we're presenting in this change is a fair resolution to that. We understand that it's a sensitive subject. We're not running from it. And like I just want to highlight that Skanska and JDC have contributed to this. So it's not, we've heard your concerns and we understand, and we're looking to resolve this in the best way.
And the town is part of it also, because the town is coming up and paying for the $18,000 of soil disposal.
Correct.
Which is oil contaminated. And there was definitely old oil there in the trenches that we dug up.
Yes.
So that the town has some responsibility also.
That was, you know, we can get into the details if we have in a future meeting, but that's a big part of it. When we were there and we were digging, and I don't want to speak for the professionals that were there, but what I heard and what I witnessed was a black, thick, viscous oil. And my understanding from the professionals that were there is that's oil that's been there for a while. That doesn't happen in a week. That doesn't happen in 2 weeks. That happens over a long period of time. And that's what we saw when we responded with the black viscous oil coming up through the slab. It wasn't red, new fuel oil. So that's why it's a little gray. However, we're looking forward to coming to some sort of agreement that's fair for everybody. And this was a first attempt to get there. So,
Well, Mike, you're looking for the town has absorbed $18,000 of it. And your recollection and my recollection of this being at the site might be a little slightly different, but maybe we could talk about that in depth at another time. I thought we were tabling this discussion, but since it's on the table.
No, Dante, please. We are tabling this. I just wanted Mike to give an overview, and then we'll bring it up at our next meeting to approve a change or not approve it, all right? It was just giving the committee a summary of where we are at right now, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
It's essentially the $80,000 of emergency response and the $18,000 of soil disposal. So we're at almost $100,000.
Okay, so the discussion is tabled, correct?
That is correct.
Thank
There
you.
will not be a vote on that today.
Thank you.
Mr. Shea.
William Shea, does CHA recommend approval of this?
Not at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's tabled.
Table, got it.
All right. That's all we have for Skanska and billing today, correct, Mike?
yes.
Okay. All right, so let's jump to the VE discussion. Based on last week's meeting, we approved the color on the sides of the building, which is stripe. And T-Gas is going to be creating drawings that shows where those stripes are, the width of them, so that the pre-engineered metal building can be ordered. And I think Ted indicated that those would be out imminently. The other is we have modified and defined where the metal building comes down. On three sides of the building, it's coming down at around 19 feet, 8 inches. And that will be on the west, the north, and the east side, and a portion of the south side, which the south side being where the lobby is. Around the lobby will still remain as a block as opposed to the cement board. And those drawings will be out the first next week so that Skanska can then finalize the buy for the building, because then the panel heights will be defined that you can buy it. Is that correct, Mike?
Correct.
Okay, and in that, the transom windows on each side of the building, east and west, will be included in that based on the vote of the committee last week. And that will be shown on the drawings that T-Gas will be producing. And the third one that we approved was to keep the roof as galvalume color, in other words, not colored. And that will be also shown. I think, and LeMessurier will be providing drawings for the change in the concrete stem wall and the foundations for that to make this all happen. And that they were issuing that today. Okay, any questions from the committee? Not hearing any? Okay, so now Dawn or Jake, can you bring up the list of other VE items?
Ted is sharing.
Ted's got the.
Ted is sharing, okay, and then we'll turn it over to Ted.
Good morning, everyone. So we have continued discussions on value engineering, and any decisions we can make will help move the project forward in any way possible. The site plan, as we know, in the building sitting on the site plan. Here's the floor plan of the overall building. Not unfamiliar. And so one possible removal is to take the canopy, take the roof, the arcade, over the to right side of the building, off the building, and reduce the scope that way, just having the lobby stay on its own. And that, I understand, is a $20,000 to $30,000 reduction. We have another version, which is to remove the wall along there's a knee wall that is used as a protective barrier from the automotive traffic and pedestrian traffic that's out here, and defines that arcade. That's another $20,000 to $25,000 reduction. This is really just removing the canopy overhang. It's very subtle in the drawing here. Would make a significant difference in the building, but there's no canopy overhang on this portion of the reduced scope, and there is a canopy overhang on this portion. Again, a couple $100,000 reduction, it seems. This one is to this one seems to be I'm a little confused about this one, Christian. I think it's the
Ted, sorry, this is Christian. That this is the reduced scope of getting rid of the arcade. The previous one that you looked at was the reduction in the west side of the lobby bump out.
I see. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But the arcade was already gone. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
So this is the see the building here. The lobby is fundamentally flush along the side. There's a little line on the bottom of the drawing that now that makes sense with the reconciling numbers here. The bump out is pushed in, and the lobby gets smaller by doing that, and that is a $20,000 to $30,000 reduction versus removing the covered entry arcade area, which is $140,000 to $160,000 reduction. Okay, and then another option is to remove, so right now, the arena area is it extends over the dressing rooms and the restrooms, with the possibility of adding some future space up there as a viewing platform. And one reduction is to pull that portion of the building back so that the building is set back, and eliminating that future expansion possibility. And we don't know the cost, the value of that reduction yet. Removing the entire lobby is another option, and we're still trying to sort out the value of that item as well. So the current design is looking like this, with, you know, some architectural articulation, breaking up the massing and the scale, having some portions open, some portions enclosed, glass and metal. There's a number of thoughts, a lot of thoughts that have gone into that. And the proposed design would be to remove some of those things and reduce the scope.
Okay, so Ted, can I take over from here?
Sure.
Thank you. So from the committee standpoint, I don't expect us to come to a conclusion in any of these because of the fact we don't have an overall cost number yet, which, just in summary, the cost, independent cost estimate is due today. Skanska and TGAS will reconcile those numbers or those costs next Thursday and Friday. The committee will then meet on the 24th, 25th, and potentially the 26th to go through those numbers. And then we'll have a better sense of what value engineering we need to do. However, what we need to do and come to a conclusion today is to direct TGAS to be able to provide drawings that can be submitted for a permit to the town. So if there are items in this discussion that the committee thinks we should reduce, because we know, or at least I believe, we're going to have a budget issue come 2 weeks from now. If there are items here that we think we don't want to have shown on the permit set of drawings, we ought to do that now. Or we just leave it as is and we put in the permit as it is, and then we have to amend the permit as we remove some of these items.
Mark, Dante, Anne Marie and Dante, in that order, have their hands raised.
Okay.
So Anne Marie was first.
Anne Marie?
Thank you. I think I'd like to go to some global questions first. My preference would be to just submit these plans as they are, and if we have to remove, but here's the more global issues. I think we noted last week that our money problems were not the building. Our money problems were other pieces of this project. So therefore, let me ask the following questions. Have we had an opportunity to pursue Belmont Light and the water department for their services? Do we have,
Just let me answer that. That is under discussion, Mayor Anne Marie.
Okay.
We don't have a resolution yet.
All right, okay, good. I understand that we have been tasked with including in our project the locker room space that was in the White Field House because the high school building committee was not able to complete that. However, can we go back to them and ask for any money that they might have left over to start to cover the cost of our assuming the responsibility of their locker rooms? And then finally, do we have the opportunity, and I know there are people on the committee and in the community who are going to go crazy when I make this suggestion, but can we defer the addition of the PV panels on this building to a later time? And what would be the cost to waiting? My understanding is that we can add those things at any point, and perhaps we need to just put the PV panels off until we have an additional funding to cover those. Those are my thoughts.
The
Thank
building
you.
has to
Those
be,
are all very good points, Anne Marie. Thank you.
Mark, can I respond to the locker room question
Yes.
regarding the high school? So to be clear, the locker rooms, the high school building project constructed the lockers and the locker rooms that were in the plan. There were no reductions, no VE options to take anything out regarding locker rooms in the high school project. So that work that was on the plans that was approved by the MSBA was completed. It was done with the understanding that the White Field House was going to be demolished, and that was also part of the original plan. At one point in time, the White Field House demolition was deferred, and then ultimately it was done under the high school project. So locker rooms, the White Field House, the associated pieces of that, the high school building committee did complete that work. In the design process for the high school, it was always anticipated that additional locker rooms for the Harris Field complex would be included in some way, shape, or form in the Rink sports complex. And those were the discussions and pieces that were put forward. So I just want to make it clear that there was no VE deduction on the high school side regarding locker rooms.
Okay, thank you.
And then
Does that answer your question, Anne Marie?
Yes, and then my next thing would be the PV panels on the roof. Can we defer those and find alternate funding at some point?
Yeah, in fact, there's a discussion that I've been having with Tom Caputo and Electric Light of some way to share or defer those costs into an electric light development of potentially a battery system and PV panels. That's ongoing, Anne Marie.
and
Okay,
also,
thank you.
one other point about that is the building code requires that the building be photovoltaic ready. So the system,
Yeah.
it can be done in such a way that, it has to be in fact done in such a way that PV would be added in the future if it were not added now. And I think there's a commitment of $1 million or so to PV, so that is valuable.
Okay,
And
All
Anne
right.
Marie, this is
Thank you.
Don White. On the electrical bid package, we have set it up that way that we're taking pricing for all the electric and everything PV ready. And as an alternate, what is the added cost for the PV panels? So that price will be identified.
all right, great. Thank you. Appreciate the answers.
Like,
Mark,
for what
it's-
it's worth,
From what it's worth as well, we're currently bidding site work. We're bidding it in a way where we're getting the values of we're including it, but we're getting breakout values for the work that Anne Marie had mentioned. For
the water
water
and the electric.
and the electric at the top. So at least we kind of understand that impact of the budget. So
we're taking that under consideration, Anne Marie, that we'll have breakout costs that we can then be able to go back to the town and see if we can get help from them to be able to do this.
All right,
makes sense.
perfect. Good, thank you.
Mark, could I also speak quick? Mark,
Sure.
could I also speak quickly to Anne Marie's point? Anne Marie, I actually think your suggestion that we take a look as the high school project wraps up and the scope, I mean, as Tom Caputo just explained, it isn't quite as clean, as you suggested with being able to necessarily put something back. But there have been some areas that on the site that do overlap, and there may be some money as the high school project wraps up that we could utilize to tackle certain portions of it. So I think it's actually a pretty creative idea. I had some similar thoughts yesterday, and I do think that's something that we should explore more in collaboration with the high school building committee, TGAS, and the town. So I think there's
Yeah.
merit to that. I really do.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Dante?
I echo Anne Marie's concern. She couldn't have said it any better. We're designing a skating rink, and we're trying to also apply some locker room space for the high school that was is absent from the Whitefield House. I understand that, but I would like to hear Ted's recommendation. I, for one, am not in a position that I would like to compromise based on the drawings and design. I would not compromise the drawings. I haven't heard a lot of savings on any of these projects. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to compromise this envelope of this building at all. And to try to make a decision on that, and we will have the decision and be able to make a comfortable decision on this when we get the information on the 24th of the and some of those numbers are coming in today. So, but I just want to go on record that I'm in no position to approve any modification of this building unless I have a substantial savings on this. I understand we inherited those locker room space. I believe that's a sizable number. And I would like to have us look at that and look for some avenue that we have some consideration with revenues from another source so this building isn't compromised. We got one bite at these apples, and we hired a designer to design this. I don't think any of the things that he's designed were outrageous, and we don't have any big foyers coming in the building or anything. I think we designed a simple rink with some curb appeal to it, some functionality. And for us to compromise any of that, I'm certainly not in favor. I've looked at it all. I understand we're trying to save some money, but personally, I'm not in favor of anything that I've seen that I want to compromise this building.
Thank you. We'll go through. Bill Shea, I think, is next.
Thank you, Mark. Ted, for next meeting, could you have a sketch that shows the removal of the overhang and the removal of the wall that's under the open area, but still keep the open area covered?
Keep the arcade.
Keep the arcade.
He has that.
Get rid of the overhang and
Get rid of the canopy.
get rid of the canopy.
Yeah.
The one on the
They
right.
They got the wall is
Okay.
gone and the canopy is there. The
Okay.
arcade is still there.
Okay, and the bump out is still to the
Yes.
west side also? That bump out's still there?
That's it.
No, it's not
This
quite
one-
it. I'm
this
saying
one-
get rid of the lower wall.
Yep.
Yeah, this one
Yeah.
still has the wall, yeah.
Yeah, get rid of the lower wall, the picture on the right without the lower wall. Thank you.
And when we talk, just so we're clear, when we talk about the bump out on the west side, we talked it in two phases. One was to remove it only from column line 2 to 3, which was bringing it up to where the corner of the rink is in this figure. And then you take it from column line 2 to 1, which is what Ted was showing in his drawing. It was a two-step process and a two-step elimination, not one. And the reason that you can take it out from 2 to 3 is that still have not resolved how to support that roof, and it's a cantilever. They either put a column in, but the other is that everyone in the committee needs to understand, there is a column coming down in that lobby space that is supporting that overhanging roof. The high bay roof, that column comes down in the middle of this lobby. Doesn't work very well.
8 feet into it.
Yeah, it's 8 feet into the lobby area.
Right.
I don't know, I
That's
think
why
it
we
works-
talked about
I think it works
removing
pretty
just
well.
that short
It's not
bump out.
really, it's, what we're talking about is eliminating all of that space and
No,
currently.
it's not true, Ted. We're only eliminating from 3 to 2 first.
I see. Yeah, sorry.
And because that column, like column line 2, is sitting in the middle of the lobby.
3 to 2, yeah, right.
And in discussions we've had with the structural engineer, I don't know why they didn't put a column at column line 2 on I think it's the F line, so that you did not have to have a cantilever coming off of this building to support that roof along column line G.
Do we have a breakdown of the difference in savings related to the bump out removed from column line 2 to 3 versus
We
from
do
1 to
not,
3?
Tom. We don't
We
yet.
don't have that yet.
Okay.
Danelle had her
Okay.
hand raised, and then Anthony is online.
Danelle,
One thing quick on the 2 to 3, that is more of a simplification that we probably were going to see in this process anyway. I think it just wasn't ever fully resolved. And I think it'll continue to be fleshed out. That'll make sense. The two things I have more of a question. In any of these options that we're looking at, are there any that impact timeline or the metal building that we should consider today? That's one of my questions. And then the second piece of this, I'm channeling my Tom Caputo. I would like to preserve everything, but as we kind of did last week, are there some things that we need to maybe take away or like, for example, the knee wall to me is a cost savings. A second one is probably the canopy. That's $250,000. You know, again, things that aren't really affecting the program. Do we need to put our best effort forward on at least some of these things that we are communicating to the town, or, you know, when we're putting all this together in a few weeks, that, you know, if we are running over, like, what did we try to do and what did we offer up as kind of our best foot forward? So those are my two things.
yeah, so in summary, what I'm hearing, Danelle, is that the bump out from 2 to 3 doesn't have an impact really on program of much. The knee wall, almost none at all, but there will be some grading issues we have to deal with. That's fine. And the canopy would be another. And I'll ask Mike, I think the only one that probably impacts the metal building is the bump out.
The bump out and the canopy potentially. I mean, I think we have a understanding or some sort of discussion, ongoing discussion with the canopy, meaning the 5-foot overhang we're talking about, just so we're all clear. And potentially doing that outside of the metal building, so we're not putting steel with the metal building contractor to support that. However, that if we don't do that, then the steel might need to be configured a different way to be able to receive a future canopy. So it is kind of all, I think, I know your question was, how does it impact the metal building? I think it really needs, not to nitpick, but it's really, how do we like keep Ted and his team going to get the design to us to then impact the metal building? Because it's all kind of interconnected. I can't sit there and tell you that this isn't going to be an impact to the metal building. So we solve it completely and we understand the actual impact on the metal building. So it's really, how do we keep them aligned?
The good news is though, that this is Don White, these are D-backs. You know, it's not like adding these back in, which would take a tremendous amount of detailing. So they have to clean up the details for where it had been tying into the building, but hopefully it's not that impactful.
Did I answer your question? I mean,
If you're ordering the metal building, what I'm hearing is the canopy will impact the metal building order.
yeah, depending on, yes. I think what we need is a decision and drawings, at least, and conceptually summarizing what is happening at that edge.
Are we in a position that we could vote today on the canopy and the bump out? And maybe the little knee wall, in the knee wall, you could fix with some benches at some point.
Right, yeah, plans.
You could do all sorts of stuff with the knee wall. As a committee, are we in a position to deduct those from the design today? I'll make a motion.
You could, well, you've got.
Oh, no, let the people, go ahead.
Couple more.
Go ahead, yep.
Who's on, Tom?
You have Anthony and then Tom Caputo.
Okay, Anthony.
All right, just a couple of quick comments. Obviously, I want to keep everything, but you know, a lot of what's been discussed seems reasonable to pursue. But since it was shown, I just have to state, removing the lobby entirely would be totally unacceptable to me. I don't want to be responsible for building a warehouse. It has to have something in the front. And I think it's really important to keep the expansion space if we think we might want to have a mezzanine in the future. That's it. Thanks.
What about the arcade, Anthony, while we're at it?
I mean, I prefer to keep it, like, as Bill was saying, there's kind of that section in front. You could get rid of that wall and do something with benches or something like that. I would defer to Ted on that. I think it's important to have something there because, again, even when you cut that off completely, you have a portion of the building that's just basically a metal side with a door in it. It's just very unattractive, I think.
Thank you. Who else?
Tom Caputo.
Tom Caputo.
I think it's funny that I've become the guy who apparently wants to save all the money, and in reality, in reality, I would love to see us build all of it, and I think it's about finding the right balance. I do think Danelle made a good point about there are some things here that are not meaningful changes or really changes at all to program that I do think aren't necessarily going to destroy the architectural aesthetic of the building, that do represent meaningful savings. And I think those are steps that even if we ultimately go back to the community or work to try to find additional money, I think it's important that the committee is sort of putting something on the table and being thoughtful as well. And to that end, I think was actually just proposed, the two that I wanted to call out that maybe are worth discussing and voting on today are the canopy and the reduction of the bump out from 2 to 3. I think those are both meaningful reductions and leave the building still able to achieve the program and still be aesthetically attractive. So I'm supportive of us moving forward with that if there's consensus.
And Tom, what about the knee wall?
The knee wall is only $20,000 if I understand correctly. Now, I'd love to see some more discussion of that. If in fact there are the ideas of putting benches there to provide the pedestrian protection there and a reasonable aesthetic, I think I would be supportive of that. But that one for me is still a little bit of a TBD, but I could go either way on that.
Okay.
I just want to add on the value, Tom.
Mike Morrison.
I'm sorry, Mike Morrison, on the value. So we have learned since that value was generated, that by eliminating the knee wall, we can substantially reduce the concrete scope in that area. So we can go to individual footings at the columns instead of the whole spread. So that is not reflected in that number, Tom. That number was generated based on just dropping that wall and reducing the masonry scope. So, there might be more to that savings.
It's at least twice that number.
Yeah, it's an excavation, backfill, concrete. When we really dig into that and we see what it looks like, it seems like it will be more than what we originally thought based on our understanding of the changes that would allow us to do.
But you're limited in the future is what you can do there. You can't put another wall.
That's a good point as
You can
well.
always dig it up. If you got a few pots, Steve, you can always go dig it up.
But you could always put, this Tom Kazunas, very substantial planters.
Yes.
That would achieve the same thing. Or, it's been mentioned benches that are field applied, that there's other, I'll call it FF&E type of options that could be done at a later date that would achieve essentially the same effect.
It would be a very nice donation.
I was gonna go there too, Mark.
Donate that whole arcade to
Right.
something.
Right. So you've got several more hands raised.
Go ahead. Who's next?
I don't know whether it was Dan or Anne Marie first, but Dan hasn't spoken,
Dan.
so I'm gonna default to Dan.
So I generally agreed with Anthony's comments, just generally, but on the knee wall, I'm just so I can understand, would cars be parking in front of that space, or would they be parking elsewhere?
There should not be any parking on this site except along the north side, all the way down by where the locker rooms, the blue square is today. There should not be any parking in front of this rink.
All right, then I would be fine with taking that out.
Anne Marie.
Anne Marie.
Sure, just a quick question on the canopy. So given the fact that now for almost a year, it hasn't stopped raining, does the canopy in a way protect the building? So if you take that canopy away and it continues to rain for 40 days and 40 nights, are we then, are we going to have to do like more maintenance? Is it wear and tear on the glass or the whatever? I'm just looking at long term. And similarly, while I love the ideas of the benches and the planters and all of that, those are not permanent solutions. They are going to have to be upgraded and maintained and taken care of. So just a caution there. Thanks.
Yeah, so Anne Marie, the rink slab now is being designed to be floating, so the whole rink will be like an arc, so we can float
Well,
it wherever
we're
we
gonna
want.
need it.
Just start collecting the animals, please.
Absolutely. Well, you can start with my cat, who's been part of this meeting, as everyone has noticed.
All right, anybody else, Tom or Dante?
Yeah, I think trying to move this project along, it seems like listening to everybody's kind of prepared to make some of these decisions, Mark. And I think it'd be nice to take, to Bill's point, but I think we can vote on this thing. I think, again, I'm willing to compromise also, but again, I just don't want to compromise the building, the integrity of the building. I'd like to hear Ted weigh in it, and then maybe we take every one of these three things that are on the table and vote on. I think Billy made a good point about the knee wall going around. Maybe I think that could be removed, and we can vote on these things, and so we can get this metal building moving forward. So I think it'd be an important point of this day to leave this meeting with some of these decisions made. And I think I for one feel comfortable that we can make those decisions. They might not go in the favor that I would like, but I think we can certainly make these decisions.
Thank you. We got anybody else?
That's it.
I can't see.
That's it for raised hands.
Okay.
But Ted, Mr. Mazzioli asked for Ted to comment on these changes.
Okay. Ted?
Back in February, when we got the news from Skanska where the numbers were, I think it was the second or third week of February, I recommended removing all of these items. And I only recommended removing all these items because we were told we didn't have any money to do anything further, and we were trying to get the building on budget. They all have significant impact on the building. They all have significant impact on the aesthetics. They all have significant impact on function, space. I've seen more buildings with planters in front of them that have cigarette butts and soda cans in them than I have with plants in them. So, I think we have to cut something because of where we are in schedule and budget. And so, it's not, I think, going to be best for the town of Belmont to cut all these things. But if they need to be cut because that's the budget we need to meet, then that's what we should do.
Okay, thank you, Ted. All right. So I'll go and ask, and it's not a formal vote, but we do need to come to a decision today to provide Ted's group direction so that they can finalize plans for a permit set to go to the town. And that's the most important. So if we're all in agreement of some of these, and it's really just the three items we're talking about right now, I think there's a consensus that we don't want to remove the entire front lobby. We don't want to move the high bay from 2 back to 3. So I think those right now are off the table. If we have to do that later on, then we'll do that. But if we can get to a consensus of a couple of these items that then would be shown in the permit set of drawings, that would be helpful. We're probably going to have to go back to town meeting for additional dollars. And to go back to them and say, we're not changing anything, I don't think politically that is a wise way to do it. Anyway, but so let me just have a show of hands. It's not a formal vote of what we want to do. And I'm going to do the simple ones first is the bump out from 2 to 3 only. And that's also a savings, Mike, in concrete, because we don't need a foundation now, foundation wall along that whole piece. So that's going to reduce concrete scope also. But let's get a show of hands for bump out, remove from 2 to 3, which removes the roof above it and the foundation below it.
So we've got 2 hands raised now.
2 hands?
Yes.
Bill Shea?
Yes, I'll get rid of it.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I thought you wanted.
yes, I did.
Okay.
So what do you got? 2 hands?
Dante.
They're saying yes.
And Anthony.
Okay.
Wait. I'm saying no to that.
Okay.
I'm supportive of it, Tom Caputo.
Okay, no,
Do we have to roll call it?
I think you should roll call it to make it clear which way people are going.
Okay.
Is this an official vote?
And it's a straw poll is what I
You
understand,
still want to?
but I still
record it?
think the only way that we could
I got it.
realistically, because I was confused whether people were raising their hands to ask a question or to be in favor. So,
Okay. The next time we're gonna get a electronic voting.
like town meeting does.
I'll work with the moderator to do that. Anyway, Tom Caputo,
I am supportive.
Anthony Ferrante,
Yes.
Frank French,
Yes, I'm supportive.
Mark Haley, yes. Dan Halston.
Yes.
Danell Long,
Yes.
Anne Marie Mahoney.
I'm a no. I say we submit the plans the way they are.
Thank you. Meg Moriarty.
Can you please clarify the motion?
Sure. And it's not it's just a straw poll of what we're gonna show
I
on
do
the
not
drawing.
receive.
Meg, it's to just remove the piece of the lobby from column line 2 to column line 3. We will
Thank you.
still have a glass wall, but it will just be a half a bay in. It'll be on the F line instead of the G line.
So Ted, could you circle the little section that we're talking about between column line 2 and 3 so people can see it and have an understanding based on the
Thank
plan
you.
you have up?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
reason why I
check me
asked
out
for
if
the repeat of that was because, right, what I'm looking at right now is actually highlighting, it looks like locker rooms. So I just,
Nope, you were correct.
Yeah, that's another suggestion that I had for cost savings, but the area that we're talking about is
2 to 3,
um,
F to G.
sorry, trying to get my computer to work here. Is this area right here. And I, you know, I guess it's going to
Ted,
be,
could you just outline the area we're talking about, not a circle? Just outline, just drawing your blue line along the wall, from 3 to 2, and then coming back to F. There you go.
Perfect.
Thank you. Meg, does that help?
yeah, I'm gonna abstain on this one.
Okay, that's fine.
What's that, 2 feet, 3 feet?
I think it's like 5.
5, yeah,
it's actually 3 feet.
3 feet.
But if you notice, there's a column
It's rid of
at
that
2
wall.
line.
Yeah.
Dante Mosioli, I think you said no.
Well, and I want to just elaborate on it. I know that's hard to believe. I think this is one of those decisions. If we find the money, we've already taken it out. Now we can't put it back in, and we can amend this permit to take it out afterward. But we can't really. Then we can amend it to put it back in. I strongly suggest that we keep this in, though it is a potential savings. But to take it out at this point, I think is a mistake. So that's why I strongly am voting no to this.
Okay, thank you. Steve? William Shea?
Yes.
So the yeses carry. Correct.
Here, quick question, Mike, do you have any feedback from the PEMB on that area? Or is it
I mean, so we've had,
back to the metal building?
yeah, I think the metal building perspective, and nothing's impossible. I think that creating the initial intent is certainly doable and was never looked at as something that was unachievable. I think that structurally, to support that 3 feet area, it's kind of a big bang for your buck. It's a small area, but there's kind of a lot of complexity to gain that small area. So that's why it's that's why and I wouldn't even, you know, I'm hesitant to call it a significant savings because it is such a small area. However, it's a lot of added work for a very small 3 feet area.
Detail work.
So take that for what it's worth. I think the most valuable thing right now is to just make a decision to go with it so we can actually get the process moving and get the shop drawings created correctly. So that I think that the decision is more valuable than the actual
Answer.
the answer, almost,
Okay,
in my opinion.
if we want to keep it in, we want to drop a column based on the discussion we had with Eric from LeMature. We want to drop a column down at column line 2G.
Understood, yeah, that makes it much more
Much
simple.
simpler to do.
Yes, yep.
So
But again,
I know
that's,
where the committee is coming from. That's fine. I think at this point in time, let's leave it in the permit set. Hope this is something we could take out. But we drop a column down at 2, Ted, and get LeMature to do that, so it simplifies the roof structure, but we don't save anything in concrete. Does that work for now, for the permit set?
Yeah, I'll talk to the measure about the column. That's a new one for me. I have to talk to him about that.
He was on, I don't think you were on the meeting we were at last week. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
I'll
go
talk
to
to him about
the knee wall next.
Motion to get rid of it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Bill Shea, yes. We'll go backwards this thing. Steve Saylor,
Yes.
Dante Mazzioli,
Yes.
Meg Moriarty. Same. Anne Marie Mahoney. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I agree with Anne Marie. It's that the other things you were talking about, the benches and all that require upkeep. So, yeah, I'm gonna abstain on this.
Okay, that's fine. Anne Marie Mahoney.
Gonna stay consistent, and this would be the one thing I could lose, but I'm gonna say keep it in and submit as we are.
Okay. Danelle? Remove it. Dan Halston,
Remove.
Haley, remove. French,
Remove.
Anthony,
Remove.
Tom Caputo.
Remove.
Okay. That will,
Jersey barriers.
we'll put a couple Jersey barriers from, WL.
Say flood run. You missed the jab. You missed the jab. You missed the jab.
Well, maybe we'll have them donate. Yeah. Okay. So Ted, that will mean that will be eliminated from the permit set. Okay, the larger one now is the canopy. I guess I would suggest we leave that in the permit set. But right now it's missed metals, and I'd like to get some more input from Skanska. So when we get to the 26th, if it gets removed, hopefully it doesn't impact the metal building, because I think it's only an add-on now with missed metals and the covering above and below it. Is that fair?
So
This is canopy.
yeah, I think the motion needs, or the decision needs to be that we come up with a solution to be able to post-install this system. And I think
Correct.
however it comes, whether it's cold form or missed metals, whatever the most,
From the metal building person, you have to buy the beam
Yep,
that runs along the top, along the parapet of the roof,
yes,
that it's all connects into. So we're buying that under the permit set and under the building. So it can be added later or deducted later, but we'll still end up paying for that beam. Is that fair?
yeah, and I honestly, I wouldn't even know, I don't even know if you'd be paying for that beam, because I think the original intent had some of the canopy in it. So this revision was gonna be taking scope from the metal building
Correct.
contractor. Now we're just replacing it, probably reducing it to frame out what will come later.
Sure, but what I want to do is make sure we can order the metal building.
Correct,
And
yeah.
get the shop drawing done for the metal building.
I think honestly, there's, I don't want to speak for Ted and Christian, there's details in the architectural set that I think summarize the intent you just outlined. So I think if the decision is, we're going to proceed with that intent for now, that gives us time to move on the metal building and get that process moving. And then,
The two things are the metal building, getting the shops done, and 2, getting a permit set done.
yeah,
And it sounds to me that's the simpler way to do it. If you're gonna carry it in the metal building, then we'll carry it in the permit set.
yeah,
I think that makes the most sense from a committee standpoint. Do we agree?
The metal building supplier is also supplying the stick-built steel for the front of the
That's
building.
correct, yep. So, but this is all part of their engineering too, so that's why these decisions are kind of creeping up. We need to, if they need to understand that there's gonna be a metal, like they'll probably be responsible for the sizing and the detailing of that tube we're talking about. So,
The tube, yes, but If
Right.
it's Miss Metals, it's not metal building guy.
They would have to understand that this tube needs to
Carry-
work
carry
and
this.
then the detail, the welding, all that,
Carry
the
it.
engineering's by PEMB. So that's, that's where we're at. So I think that.
So we're paying for the engineering for this tube that runs along the.
You always do. We always were. We always
always
were.
did.
It was always, but they just need to understand what's connecting to their system. That's the piece.
But at the end of the day, we may be eliminating it, but we're not holding up the metal building. Is that?
Yes.
That's what I'm
Yes.
gonna get to.
Yep.
Do you save money by making that smaller? Or not really?
So they
Instead of
said,
5 feet, do we go to a 2 feet? The building's gonna be designed to handle a 5 feet. We save a few bucks with a 2-foot overhang.
Sure.
my understanding of the cost drivers here are the amount of overhang
The moment.
and the profile at the edge. The thicker that edge can be, the more thin that profile at the edge, the more challenging it is to construct from a structure standpoint.
Got it. Thank you.
So I'd like to get a consensus from the committee. At this point in time, we leave the canopy in for the permit set and we leave it in for the design for the metal building. So that will not impact schedule, but it's one of those items that could be eliminated in the future.
Or revisited for size.
Correct.
Okay. Yes.
Bill Shea, yes. Steve Sala,
Yes.
That's not
Oh.
clear.
comment?
I do have a comment.
Sure, go ahead, Danelle.
This goes back, and this is Danelle, back to Ted and his team. And some of the things we've been hearing about time and change, you guys had articulated that this is a more complex change for you. How much
You're talking to Ted.
to Ted, yeah. In terms of detailing that condition. Is this process okay for Ted and,
Ask him.
yeah, for what you need for? I've heard you say that this change could take a lot of time to change. And so do we need to commit to something earlier so that this change happens? Not that we are a month along, like say end of April or early May, and then hear that it will take a month to change this detail. I just wanted,
What I'm hearing is the metal building would go up. If you eliminated the canopy, you'd then have to have some kind of a closure at the parapet. Is that fair, Mike?
As I understand it, it's be similar to what you have on the north structure, on the MBTA side.
On the north end of the building?
Yeah.
I would agree, but I've heard that communicated that this is like a big change. And so I just want Ted's input on, to me, this is one of those like schedule and time is money things.
Sure.
And so if in some way it makes sense for us to commit to something more solidly now, it might be.
So Ted, could you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the north end of the building is, it's facing the tracks. We're concerned, but not as concerned with the aesthetics of it. I think this is facing the street and it's facing the new gorgeous library building and adjacent to a new gorgeous school building. And we don't want it to look like a dog. And so from a design perspective, I think we just need to think carefully about what we do here. I can detail a flashing detail on a weekend. That's not the issue. It's about how does the building present itself for the next 50 years? And what we're building is a 50-year structure, and that takes time. Thinking takes time. So lopping something off, adding a column, those all have impact. And so we're trying to preserve some sense of design as we go forward with this. So I don't know if that answers your question directly, but it's not about a flashing detail. It's about thinking what the building looks like for 50 years.
I think unlike the north structure, we don't
Mike
have.
Morrison.
I'm sorry. Unlike the north structure, we don't have metal panel here. So there'd be a completely new condition because it's above the storefront if we didn't have the canopy, right? So you'd have to figure, to Ted's point is, there'd be a different material likely introduced to get on that. Which I don't know what that looks like, I'm sure.
But most recent drawings was essentially that canopy connected to a parapet wall in that tube, which is above the storefront.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like what's being discussed right now is similar to what's on the drawings. I'm just, only thing, and I think we've said it a couple times, and this isn't my decision, but if we end up at the point where we're looking for, you know, savings of north of $100,000 that aren't going to impact the program, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of them out there. And this is one, and that, not my decision to make, but I just want to make sure that framework is out there for people.
Yeah, and I accept that. I understand that. And I think I would go back to Anne Marie's comment. I think that we'd take some punches, but there's $1 million in PV that can be added in future. And the building still has, you know, a 50-year aesthetic to it that doesn't embarrass Belmont.
Agreed. Yep.
And I think, you know, one of the things we're trying to do is, when it comes to budgets, it's painful and everyone feels uncomfortable and it's difficult, but we don't want to leave something that embarrasses the town for the next 50 years and with bad decisions or decisions being made hastily because of finances.
But it will be the first thing that comes out on the 24th.
You restate the polling question.
What's that?
Can you restate the polling question?
The polling question was do we eliminate the canopy at this point in time, or what I'm hearing from Skanska is it doesn't impact the metal building, so it doesn't impact the schedule. Ted, it doesn't impact his drawings to get a permit set out. That's why I'm suggesting we leave it in for now so we can get the permit set done. And if we want to take something out, it's much easier to take it out of the permit set than add it back in again. That makes sense?
Yes.
So Danelle?
So yes, but I will likely vote to remove it later.
Okay. Dan? Alston?
I'm not sure if the vote is to keep it in for now. Is that the
To
question?
keep it in the drawings for now,
Yes.
that's correct.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Anthony has his hand
I'll
raised.
be to Anthony in a second. Anthony?
Yeah, well, I'm yes to keep it in, but I was just wondering if we could just show the slide that actually shows the canopy and no knee wall. I think it exists. So just so we can see, this is what we're looking at, right?
Hold on.
That's the design.
Hold on.
No, it's-
I gotta find it.
I don't think it exists.
That
This
does this
is the closest. The knee wall would this would be the knee wall is this piece, and that would go away.
Okay. I'm a yes to keeping it in for now.
Okay. Tom? Caputo?
Yes, Mark, I guess I'm a touch confused. I think at the end of the day, I think this is an opportunity for value engineering that doesn't impact the program, and I do think it will make sense to take it out. If the question though is we have option value and we can keep it in for the permit set, then I guess that's fine. Is that what you're trying to get alignment
That's what I'm
on?
trying to get to, exactly.
Okay, then in that
I'm trying to
case,
do it, I'm trying to do as little changes to the drawings as we can so we can get the permit set out.
okay, in that case, then I am supportive of the path forward with the expectation that hopefully, or with my support for it coming out in the future. But thank you.
Okay, Frank French?
Yes, I would say for those reasons, we'll keep it on for now and probably have some further discussion on it.
Okay, great. So Ted, I think the only thing that the committee is directing you to do is to remove the knee wall.
Yeah.
And the rest is in the drawings for the permit set. And BE would become after we have the dollars for various other pieces. Is that fair? Ted?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Okay. Mike, you're all set?
Yeah, I think the other piece is, now I think the decision's important and now we got to move forward very quickly with, implementing a Miss Metal solution. So that gets incorporated in what we're trying to go and award. And
When you say metal solution, what are you talking about?
I said Miss Metal solution. What we just talked about is potentially framing that out with a Miss Metals.
Which I thought that was on the drawings as currently exists.
Yeah, there's a detail that shows it, but I mean, would you agree, Ted? I mean, if we're saying we're not going to frame it out, are we ready to hit this? I mean, I'm trying to understand if there's more. I'm just sensitive to time.
But we're not buying Miss Metals at this point in time, right? That's a separate bid.
Yeah, end of the month, I thought we were.
Yeah.
I think the 26th is when decisions are gonna be made, and then we're gonna have to revisit documents.
Okay,
Are we finishing this roll call or we finished the roll call?
we're finished. We're finished, Dante, and it's being left in for the permit set. The way
Perfect.
unless someone disagrees.
You didn't finish the roll call.
Yeah. You didn't.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
didn't
I-
finish the roll call, Meg.
Meg
Dan.
abstain.
For the canopy.
No, I would say yes on that.
Okay, we leave it in for now. Who didn't I?
Anne Marie.
Anne
I
Marie.
mean, yeah, to leave it in.
Okay, Dante.
Leave it in.
Okay, Steve.
Yes, leave it.
Leave it in. Okay. So we're leaving it in for the permit set, but I hear Tom loud and clear is this is a big ticket item that if we need something to be deleted, this is probably first order of business.
So Mark,
Hello?
yeah, this is Anthony. So Ted, you did have one where that canopy was removed, right?
Yeah, it's on the right-hand side, Anthony, and I was just playing with my digital crayons here, coloring the wall, removing the knee wall.
Yeah, but I mean, if we were to remove the whole canopy, you've got that image. I think I know what it is, and I don't like it at all. So I think people should have that impression if we're gonna revisit this in a couple weeks of what it would look like if the whole canopy went away.
He's
But
got
to be
that,
clear,
he's got that
what's
rendering.
shown
Yeah,
here
he's got that. It's right. Like
is the canopy removed. This is what we're talking
On the
about
right.
in this current drawing.
Correct. It's not the arcade, it's just the
Correct.
canopy.
It's just the canopy.
okay, got it. Thanks.
So Mark, one thing, so I'm assuming the committee's finished, everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, thank you everyone for working on this decisions and making decisions. In order to issue the permit set, and this is going to confuse things a little bit, but we can, I guess we get civil to work on the permit set next week and get the knee wall taken out, architectural, structural, and civil. And I think it will take a week. If it's going to take longer than that, I would suggest we issue the permit set, early next week, Monday, once we find out how long it will take them, what their workflow is, because they haven't looked at this area in a bit. Part of me is thinking we should just stamp and sign exactly what we have with the knee wall in, knowing that it is going to come out, but we get the permit application in process. I'd like to get that hurdle behind us. We have many, many hurdles, and I'm trying to knock them down.
Does the committee agree to that? Without having to overrule. If you disagree, would you please raise your voice? If there's no disagreement, then we would issue the permit set with the knee wall in, canopy in, bump out in. The three items we talked about today. Everybody, no disagreement? Sounds like there's no disagreement, Ted.
Okay,
Proceed.
thank you. It helps manage consultants, and it helps. I got them all to vote yes. On my side, I got the consultants to vote yes, they can do that. And then we paused. And so I'd rather just go back to them and say, issue the drawings, let's get the permit set out there, get Skanska working with ARA and others, because that's going to raise a whole set of questions in itself. But we want to get this settled before, June 1st is only 6 weeks. And so we have a lot of permit mets to work through.
Could you also, though, discuss with the measurements that we did before, but just confirm a potential column at
I will. No, it's in my notes.
G2?
Yeah, I got it in my notes. Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mark, I need to drop for 9 o'clock. I'll catch up.
I think we're going to motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in
Thank you all very
favor?
much.
Hello,
Aye.
can I ask a question? Are you gonna take public comments this time? You haven't taken them in a
Yes.
little bit.
Yes, we'll take public comments.
Thank you. It'll be
Lisa.
quick. Hi, Lisa Pagoli. I'll just be quick. My first question was, when you talked about the $100,000, was that the delay? What was the delay on that? And was it what you were talking about previously where you weren't getting the information and documents from like back in November and it was costing almost $1,000 or so a month. So I'd like to know why there was, what the delay was that's costing us that money. And my other thing, I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but it just doesn't, it seems like a no-brainer. If you have to be looking for money elsewhere and then having to go back to the town after we haven't even got the influx of all those debt exclusions and overrides to ask for more money, then there's a big problem. And then if you want to do that instead of making the cuts, I think that's huge, that to come back and think that, you know, you can just ask for money. So I think that's something to think about, because I thought that was outrageous. We're already in that process. The high school's killing us already, and they've tacked it on to you people. We shouldn't be paying for any of this stuff, sports complex or anything. Thank you. If you could answer my first question, I'd appreciate it.
The first question is because the pre-construction services for Skanska have extended. They need to transfer money from what there would be in their general conditions back into this pre-construction era. Yes, we will be discussing that schedule issue, Lisa, in more detail, and a meeting coming up with the various principals of each of the firms. And that will report back out. The cost and the dollars will come out. If you're following this along, it'll come out on the 25th or 26th. We'll know where we are. But I would rather not go back to the town and ask for more money. And what am I doing? Doing my Tom Caputo image. Anyway, I don't want to spend any more money either, Lisa. We're all taxpayers in this town.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, now I'll
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Shut it down.